I am so excited to get on here today and talk about one of the things that have completely changed my life. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in, interact as we go. And I'm Jen. I'm a master intuitive. And I have been doing this for a long time, but I just probably the past 3 years have really started to train my intuition and take it up to the next level. And that is what today is going to be all about. I have my notes because I don't want to forget anything. I like to call this. So you may have taken other intuition courses, other intuition webinars. I call this a self-trust webinar, a self-trust, because a lot of times people growing up, they lose their self-trust. They lose their ability to make decisions. They'll make a bad decision and see, this is why I never follow my gut. This is why I don't follow my intuition, because they've made a bad decision. So they think in their mind it was a bad decision. And that's when they've lost trust in their intuition, in their decision making, which could catapult and roll into a whole bunch of other things. So today we're just going to be talking about specifically what is intuition, where do we use it, and why it's so important for everyone to develop it. Okay, so intuition is everything. It's how we communicate with ourselves. It's how we communicate with the universe. And hopefully, the goal one day is that everyone is using their intuition and it's going to change the world. Because if we're doing that, instead of just making judgments of people or making decisions off of our fight and flight, that changes everything. Okay. Where do we use intuition? I just keep saying for everything. It helps you make decisions. So if you're someone like me, I have ADHD, or just like I never know which direction to go. Not anymore. I used to, right? Say you're at your partner or your friend was like, "Where do you want to go out to eat tonight?" You're like, "I don't know. Okay, I could pick this. I could pick this. I could pick this." Like you're like all over the place. Imagine tuning into your intuition, saying something like, "Body, where would I be the happiest to eat tonight? Where will I be satisfied?" Because a lot of times we don't make decisions because we feel we're going to regret the one we made. And we don't want to live in regret. So that's why we get frozen in our decision making. Okay. Imagine being able to tune into your body, which we did talk about this last week. Tune into your body. That headache comes along and it's like, where did this come from? Why am I having this? Imagine being able to tune in and find the answer to that. Imagine being able to, whether you have kids, your partner, really any relationship, a friendship, a boss, they're coming at you some way. Imagine being able to ask their thought field, what is it that they're really trying to tell me? What is that? So that way you have the clear answer and you can approach it from a different way. It honestly changes relationships when you're able to see what they're really trying to tell you, what their real intention is in that. Okay. So every part of your life can be balanced when you have intuition. And that's the goal, right? Like a lot of us live in these ups and these downs very drastically. And that's due to a lot of the fight and flight, a lot of the trauma that's been put on us. That's a lot of the shields we carry on ourselves to protect ourselves from being hurt. So we live in this like, yes, things are happening so good to us. We're so high. And then like something bad happens, like, and we're back to the low, like I suck. So the whole goal with intuition is that we're taking our brain kind of out of it, right? Because most of us operate in our subconscious brain, and that's about 90 to 95% of our actions, and we don't even know what we're doing. Because remember, your subconscious brain is all about keeping you safe, right? It's all about staying in the same patterns and keeping you safe over and over again. And a lot of us are operating in there and making decisions based on that. Imagine being able to bypass that operating system and make decisions from your true core self, from your higher being that knows the path that you're supposed to live. Okay. A lot of us, especially our true core selves, we do not live from our true core selves. And it's really sad when you give percentages to people and they're at, below 10% of living from their true core self. And they're like, what the heck? But it should be also exciting because you are here to unlock what you really want. And let me tell you a story, a little bit about how using intuition to unlock my true core self has changed my life. I used to be the type, tell me if you can relate to this, where I had to look perfect, in line, in order, and have everything done. And I would kill myself to have everything done, even as far as kids kids crafts, kids Valentine's Day presents, Easter basket. It was like extraordinary and all of this, and I'd be so tired and I don't even know why I was doing it. I was just doing it. Or I would be so tired, yes, so overwhelming, so tired, and going someone asked me to go do something and I'm like, oh, I can't miss out. Like, oh, I'm gonna go. Like, I definitely want to go do that. I'm gonna go. Now I have no fear of missing out. I'm like, oh, okay, you could go without me. It's fine. Or even when it comes to the holidays, I don't feel pressure to get my kids these huge things anymore. Cause I'm like, that's not what my true core self really wants. That's not what my kids' true core self really wants. That's what social media wants. That's the contagions. That's the let's build this huge Easter basket and Valentine's Day basket to take a picture to make me look like a good mom online, right? But is the people actually really care? Oh, Jen got them that huge basket, so I should get that huge basket, right? So, realizing having intuition, being able to make decisions from your true core self can be so peaceful, especially like you were saying, is so overwhelming, and that's when a lot of us get stuck in that fight and flight because we're trying to be something that maybe someone else wants us to be, but it's not who we want to be on the inside, deep down. But a lot of times we don't even know who we want to be because we've been listening to everyone else. So, this is where intuition comes in and changes the game. You can make a decision and know you're going to be so happy with it years down the line because you now trust yourself. You now know whatever my intuition says, the decision it tells me to go, there's a reason why. And I'm so good with that. And to be able to live like that is so peaceful. It's so peaceful. And I cannot wait for you guys to get there. Okay. Um, Let me see. All right. Now, let's talk a little bit about the science because a lot of people think the intuition is just woo woo. They put you in the same category as like psychics and mediums, and they are a little bit different. So, a psychic more is doing predictive stuff. Like a lot of people go to psychics to ask about their future, and a lot of psychics are not trained. they're taught just to ask the question, and they're not going to a specific field, a specific place to go and ask that question. Maybe some are, but I haven't really run into a lot of psychics that are trained. So you could ask a question, they could be going to a whole different source to get an answer, but that's not the accurate answer, right? So that's kind of the difference with the psychic. And it is really hard to predict future stuff because anytime you predict something or give someone a timeline of something, it can change. Numbers change for the future because your energy can shift, which could change the whole timeline to be further or closer. So that's why some psychics, your reading might seem accurate, but then it might be off, like in other places. So that's kind of the difference. A lot of times, too, mediums, there's a big misconception, they do connect to that person's soul, but the soul of the person who had passed is really only here and to be contacted for 3 to 6 months after they passed. So a lot of times you're not 100% sure who they're connecting to, right? So that's kind of the difference between the intuition, psychic, and mediums. Whereas intuition is literally science. It's science. And I think it's becoming more known and more accepted. I feel using intuition isn't as woo woo. Like, the tarot cards, which I used to do tarot cards, and I think they're great and a great tool to begin with to start to trust yourself. But that's more of the woo woo. And I don't know about you, but I never fit into the woo woo community. I always felt like I'm not like, like dancing around, which is great if you are, which is great. But I never was like that. So I was like, I never fit in until I found intuition and this group and more of the science behind it and what it actually is. So intuition is reading light. That's all it is. So, right, you have your photons, which turn into matter, and matter turns into physical or energetic. And that's what we're reading. We're reading the light of what's happening. And in modern science, they do this when predicting cancer, right? They go in, they do the scan, whether you have lack of light or a light, they can determine if you're going to have cancer, where the cancer's at. They're literally reading light. And that's what intuition is. And once you start to train it, you can go to different fields. And I have a lot of people, I'm sure, watching this who are already intuitive. And one thing you should know is everyone has intuition and you can start to notice it. A big one when I was younger, tell me if you can relate. I felt I always knew things and like how things were going to happen before it happened. And I was like, oh, I knew that. And I was like, what is that? Like, what is going on? That's intuition, right? But a lot of us shut it down at such a young age and block it out. Yes, Katie, see? Block it out and we don't go with it because it was never widely accepted. You could have grown up with parents who were like, that's weird. Please don't. And so you've shut it off and kept it to yourself. And that's why it doesn't get use and you stop trusting it as much. Okay. So back to sidetracked here, reading the light. So there are different fields we can go to. So one of the big ones, when someone comes into the room and you get this sense about them, you've never met them before, you get this sense and you're like, something is off. I'm going to go the other way. You're like, something's off. I don't know what it is, but something just doesn't feel right. And you tell someone else and they're like, what are you talking about? That's reading their aura. Okay. So anytime you walk into the field, someone's aura can go out 4.5 feet to 37 feet. So you could be walking into their aura, and your aura gives the initial judgments about people. So that's the reason why, if you've ever been around someone where you're like, I don't fully trust them, that is you stepping into their aura. So that is one field where we can read from. A lot of that can be read too in the aura is about the body as well. The energetic and the physical body can be read in the aura as well. So there's, 7 layers of the aura that you go to read. Another field, okay, this one's perfect. The thought field. This one is so fun because basically, as we were saying before, our true core selves are not prominent here. So a lot of people's thoughts are not their own. You could be around someone and they could strongly think something. So their thought field's going into your thought field, and then it makes you start to believe it, right? You know, those people who are so good at storytelling and it's so believable. That's you in their thought field, and that's their thought field broadcasting out everywhere. So you're literally in their thought field, and that's when you start to believe what they're saying. This is how I would say even the higher up people have really strong thought fields and believe things, and that's how they get others to follow them, right? So, one of the benefits from reading someone's thought field is you can, once you tap into it, you can go in and see what they're really thinking. Because a lot of times people won't tell you what they're really thinking unless you're around a Sagittarius. They don't know how to be quiet. Just kidding. That's me. You can go in and see. So, like, imagine if you had a boss and you were like, I can't get a read on what they're thinking. Like, okay, I'm going to tap into their thought fields and I'm going to go in and see what they're thinking. So, see how big that could be, being able to enter someone's thought field and really seeing what's going on behind the scenes. Okay. Another one is the EMF, which I'm sure you all have heard about, your electromagnetic field. This one, everyone has, obviously. This one is very important. This is actually, let me give a story first. Have you ever really liked someone? I'm going to give it a story about my mom. I always, I had a tough relationship with her. Nothing like bad has happened, but every time I'm around her, I get very agitated and irritated and short. And then I leave and it's like disappears. I'm like, what the hell? Like, she's my mom. Like, she's done really nothing wrong. Yes, sometimes. But why, when I'm around her, does my energy shift? What's going on there? And you may have experience with this with someone. You may be like, they're really nice, but every time I'm around them, it's like I turn into a different person I don't necessarily like. That is their EMF field. So what happens is your thoughts, however you think, however you act toward yourself, you're putting into your energetic field. Now your energetic field, this is my kindergarten descriptions. Every time someone comes around and into your energetic field, you hand them a script. Now, unless they're aware of this, they have to act out that script. So, for example, like my mom is very hard on herself, very, sometimes just like judgmental, hard on herself, like towards herself. And that's what I play out in her. So I'm getting into her field and I'm being handed this script. And that's the script I have to play to her because that's what her field is telling me how to act. And do you see how important this is? And do you see how having intuition, you can change how people treat you? Because you can start putting into your field, I love myself. I'm very kind to myself. I put myself first. And now when people are in your field, this is how they respond. Also, if you don't like how you treat some people, you're like, you leave them, like I was saying before, you leave them and you say, I feel so much better. What in the world? Like that was so heavy. When you're in that situation and you notice again, this is so much awareness. You start to notice how you treat them. And you're like, pause. This is not me. You can check in and say, am I playing a script in their field? Oh, yes. Okay. Now I know and I can readjust. So that's another field that you can tap into is the energetic field. Okay. It might seem very overwhelming, all the fields, all the places to go. But one of the biggest things to start out with this is just begin to start to tune into that little voice you've been ignoring. Okay. That little voice you've been ignoring. I'll give one more quick story. A couple years ago, probably like 4 years ago now, the Amazon um I got this ad, or I listened to it was like, produce a product on Amazon, and it's like income, like passive income. I was like, oh, I can do that. So right before I was going to sign up for this course, $7,000, right before I was going to sign up with this course, this was before I started to train intuition. I was being hit hard, like, no, no, with intuition, like in my gut, but I didn't listen to it. And I signed up for the course, and obviously it didn't work out because it costs way more money to produce stuff on Amazon, way more than what obviously they led with, right? So that's another thing you can do it for. Hey, intuition, higher self, is this program for me? Will I be happy with purchasing this in the next year? Is this on my path? So that's another way you can also use intuition to save you money. No, just kidding. To save you money because you're not purchasing out of your mind and your brain and your emotions. You're purchasing from your true core self and your path that you are on. So, with all that being said, it's a lot of information. um you can just start to, my advice would be, just start to listen to that little voice inside of you. And today was just more about bringing awareness. What is intuition for? What do we use it for? The different fields, being trained in it, all of that. And then next week, we'll probably talk about, I have to tune into the collective, but we'll probably talk about the different forms of intuition, because there are different forms as well. And I am going to be hosting a course probably in the next couple months. I'm setting it all up. I do have a wait list going, and this isn't going to be just an intuition course. Yes, we're going to be listening to intuition and learning intuition because that's number one, but it's really going to be about trusting yourself, getting out of emotionally making decisions, getting out of your head, getting out of that overwhelm, finding and living from your true, authentic core self, out of fight and flight. That's what this course is going to be. But training intuition is a huge part of it. So you can go ahead and jump on the wait list and being the first to know when all that is launching. But that's what I have for you today. So thank you so much for jumping on. And I don't know if you have any questions. I'll just hang out just for like a minute longer. If you have any questions, go ahead and type those in there. But if not, let me see. Okay, great. And you can always email me. I'm open to emailing. I also have a 10-minute call we can jump on, talk about more, anything that you're struggling with, we can discuss in there as well. But if not, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you next Wednesday. All right, bye.